What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Data with Peachy. This is episode 17, even though I think I've gotten my numbers wrong on my previous episodes. But that's okay, because according to this is episode number 17. Now, today's is going to be a much more, hey, I'm trying to make you feel some sort of emotion, some sort of deep down feeling, because I'm pretty passionate about this next subject. Now, is it related to data governance exactly? No, not exactly. But what I will say is, I believe that the topic for today is one of the most important things, and it's a critical piece or skill that a lot of data professionals, they seem to either have lost or lost the passion for. They get lost in the sauce that, a lot of times our job gets caught up in, hey, what's the latest spreadsheet that you have? What's the dashboard look like? Or what does your PowerPoint presentation look like? And I'm here to tell you that as data professionals, we get asked to do all those things and more, especially on the spreadsheets and the PowerPoint presentations and the dashboards. There's no shortage of any of the technologies that you have out there. But this particular skill, is something that I think all data professionals, regardless of where you are, data scientist, data management professional, data governance professional, chief data officer, you name it, it is a skill that I think is incredibly important. And that skill is literally storytelling. I think it is a lost art. I think it is something that can evoke so much emotion when you connect with a story that is so deep down there. Think about the last time that you heard a song or a movie or something that moved you so emotionally that you connected on it at such a deep, fundamental level. And as data professionals, this is something that I want us to reach down deep and really harness the power of telling a good story. So again, we've said it before, I'll say it again. Everybody has data. It all depends on how you use that data to really make the change. And one of the greatest abilities to make that change is evoking emotion through the art of storytelling. A good story stirs emotions deep within the soul of an individual or a person or a group of people. A good story keeps you on the edge of your seat, the curiosity that's there. You have empathy for the person, maybe some anger, whatever that might be. When you weave data into a story, you're not just showing numbers. And that's the thing I want people to remember is it's very easy to show those numbers, but you've got to give them the why behind those numbers. Tell me why I need to care about that thing on a dashboard or that thing in a spreadsheet. I need to connect not only with the numbers on the page, because I can get those numbers no matter what, but tell me why those numbers matter to me. I'm a real person with real problems and I need a real solution. Why do I need to connect with the information that you have? Think about it from this perspective. And I've been in situations, and I have been both of these people that I'm about to describe. And I am looking down here at my notes, so keep that in mind. You have an analyst that just throws up a slide that is crammed full of graphs and percentages and numbers, and they get in front of you and they drone on and on about the statistical significance of that and the standard deviations of this. The audience, you're like me, you're sitting in the audience, your eyes have completely glazed over. You're probably not even secretively at this point checking your phone, looking at your watch, looking at whatever, and it's a dry, dull, easily forgettable type situation. You got your information. The information was provided to you just as you probably had asked. You said, hey, put a PowerPoint together, put a spreadsheet together, put a dashboard together, whatever. That person did exactly what you asked them to do. Now, think about this next scenario. If you're analyst B, on the other hand, they show up and they start with a question. And that question could be something like, what if I told you that we are losing our most loyal customers, the ones who have been with us since the very beginning? And they start to weave this story together about Sarah, a fictional customer representing data, who loved the company so very much, but eventually left because of a very specific pain point with your company. They used data to highlight Sarah's journey through her frustration and ultimately the reason for her departure of leaving the company or leaving them as a customer of that company. Then that analyst ends on what they recommend or what they will do to fix this situation so there are no other Sarahs leaving as a customer because you fixed it. Now, imagine sitting in a room, you are strapped to your seat, listening to this analyst paint this picture based off of what you found. Same exact situation, same exact numbers, but the delivery was so very different. And that's the thing that we're missing in the secret sauce. Data governance professionals and data management professionals, I have been guilty of this. I'm looking at you. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm looking at you through the camera. If you're listening to this on the podcast, hopefully you can feel and hear the emotion in my voice. As data governance and data management professionals, I have too many times seen that we get into a room and we start talking to people and telling them all about why it's important that they need to identify their critical data elements and how important data lineage is and how having a data dictionary is super important and that metadata matters, but make it matter to them. If you go to an executive and say, I need you to do your metadata management, they're going to look at you and they are not going to give a rat's behind what you say because they don't understand what that means. So make it relatable. I worked with an unbelievable group of individuals in my career. I'm going to call a couple of them out. If they are listening to this podcast, I truly appreciate it. It was definitely a team effort when we did this. In one of the situations, in one of my previous employers, we worked together. I worked with Corwin. I worked with Jim. I worked with a whole slew of other individuals that created a story. So it was Jim, it was Todd, it was Corwin. And again, I'm missing it, Mark and Tom, and like all these individuals, we worked together and we created a story around a very simple thing, going to the grocery store. And I use this grocery store example all the time in a lot of talks that I have because it resonates so well with individuals and they understand the importance of exactly why telling a story and connecting it to the capabilities and services that you offer as a data organization, why it matters. So on the journey of going to a grocery store, I want you to pretend for a second that you walk into the grocery store and you have the biggest craving for your favorite box of cereal. And that box of cereal may be Frosted Mini Wheats. Maybe that box of cereal is Frosted Flakes, whatever that is. But you know that you're going to walk into this grocery store, your favorite one, and you're going to grab that box off the shelf, go home, and if you're like me, probably eat the majority of the box because you just really love cereal. But when you walk into your grocery store, the first thing that you notice, there are no signs above the aisles. So you have no idea which aisle the cereal might be in. Fine, that's okay. We'll figure this out. You know what the box looks like. You know pretty much where you want to take this thing. You know exactly where it probably is. You're going to go through the first aisle, and that first aisle is probably going to be something like condiments and pickles and whatever you want to call it. The next aisle might be baked goods. They might be artificial sweeteners and bags of sugar and flours. Okay, we got to it. Then you come to the aisle that you probably assumed is the cereal aisle. But the thing that you notice specifically about the cereal aisle is every single box, top to bottom, is completely the same. It is one brown box. Some boxes are bigger than the others. Some boxes are smaller than the others. But one thing remains the same. They're still just brown boxes, and you have no idea. Now you're getting frustrated. At this point, you just want that box of cereal just to desperately eat the cereal that you've been craving. So what do? You start terrassing through the cereal aisle right there, ripping open boxes to try to figure out exactly which one is the cereal that you want. You're opening up dozens and dozens of boxes to try to figure out exactly where are these Frosted Flakes, because that's what you want. So you've gone dozens, box, top to bottom, row after row to finally find the box. But here's the thing. Is it fresh? Do you even know if it's expired? Do you even know if it's the name brand Frosted Flakes that you want, or is this the knockoff because you don't like the knockoff? That's what I'm talking about. What I just described to you there is the grocery store example that you can then weave into the fact of, now, when you walk into the grocery store and the first thing that you see is the aisleways with exactly the labels that you're looking for, guess what? That's metadata. The boxes with all the colorful pictures and the words written all over it, that's metadata. On the side of the box, when you're looking to see the nutritional facts, but also more importantly, to find out exactly if it's expired or not, that's metadata. That's why metadata matters. Now, see, I could have told that story talking about the significance of metadata in the data example, but that's not going to do anything. That's not going to evoke any emotion in anybody because only data professionals speak like that. But do you know what everybody else does? Everybody goes to the grocery store. Everybody knows exactly that feeling. When you walk into a grocery store and you're looking for a specific thing, that resonates with somebody. That ability to tell that story, albeit a very silly example at this point, went so far with our executives, they knew exactly what we were trying to do. You take an example like that and you weave in the data capabilities and services that you have, and now you start to see why telling a story is so important. If you walk in, again, think of the Analyst A and Analyst B. If you walk in and tell a story about why metadata in the dictionary and having a definition of a data element is super important, albeit as a data professional, I know why it's important. But does an executive who doesn't live, breathe, and sleep and eat data like we do they? Chances are they probably don't. And that's why you're seeing tremendous amounts of stories now where they're talking about chief data officers don't think they're going to be around long and data offices are not really providing the value that they see. But are we telling the right story? Are we actually stepping back and asking, I have all of these technical skills available at my fingertips, some of the best data scientists in the world. Why is my data office failing? Honestly, do you tell a good story? Do you have a strategy that relates to any individual at all at the executive suite that they can understand, not as a data professional like we can? Did you give them an example like I just described to you about going to a grocery store just to look for a box of cereal? Again, everybody knows what that's like. Tell them why you need to do something. That ability to evoke an emotion from them to connect deeply with the message that you're trying to convey. That's why I say telling a story matters. Having the passion to tell that story matters. Tangentially related, this is to anyone who's out there looking to hire a chief data officer or any data executive at all. If you peruse LinkedIn all the time, and yes, somewhat it is an echo chamber, what I just described to you about that storytelling bit, that doesn't show up in job descriptions. They don't ask for those soft skills like that. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that what I just described and the emotion that I just showed you connects with humans far greater than anybody could ever have having the best skill set ever available for SQL or Databricks or anything else like that. So my plea out to some of the hiring folks that are out there or companies looking to hire these types of roles, you need to start to consider the soft skills because that's why storytelling matters. Storytelling matters. You paint a picture, you give relatable examples like I just talked about. You insert conflict into it. The conflict was I get to the cereal aisle and I have no idea where the box of Frosted Flakes are. They're sitting on the edge of their seat. They're laughing because they realize it is a silly story that I am telling you at probably a data conference or a data meeting. Why are we talking about Frosted Flakes? And then at the end of it, they're hit with some sort of revelation or resolution to go, oh, I understand why that particular person was telling the story the way that they were. How do you get there? Well, if you're a person who wants to try to learn how to tell a story, you need to involve yourself in the ability to be around people who tell stories. Go to conferences, learn from the best, read books, watch movies, connect with music, listen to your favorite YouTubers, me if you like that, TED Talks, anything. Pay attention to how they introduce a subject, hold your attention. What did they do really well? Listen to what they're saying for just to consume the content and then go back and rewatch it as what did they do to draw your attention? Was it the way that they talked with their hands, the inflection point of their voice, the way that they spoke with passion? What was it? Why did you connect with them? And then sit down and structure your story. Think about a very simple, tried and true structure. Situation, complication, resolution. That's it. That's all you have to do. 3 different things. Situation, complication, resolution. Lay it out. Write it out for you. And practice, practice, practice. Practice your 1-minute story. If you have a minute to tell that story, do you have a version that you could spit out in 60 seconds? Do you have a version you could spit out in 30 seconds during an elevator pitch with the CEO? Practice, practice, practice. Ask for feedback. Embrace the different visual tools out there. If you don't have the ability to have visual tools, be the visualization that you want it to be. Show passion and compassion and more passion on top of that. If you go in telling a half-assed story, you're going to get a half-assed result from the audience. But if you go in and you tell with your whole self that you fully are in telling this story and storytelling, I can almost guarantee you, but I don't deal in guarantees because I work in governance after all. I can almost promise you that the majority, if not everybody in the room, is going to connect there with you, either positive or negative. They're either going to love the fact that you were so passionate, or they're going to think you are the biggest idiot and you could not even be more, but you have evoked emotion from that person, whether it's positive or negative. The stats are important, without question. But while the stats are important, telling that story is just as important, if not more. There is no perfect analysis. There is no perfect amount of data. There is no perfect storytelling. That story I just told you about the cereal aisle, I've told, I can't tell you how many different times, and it changes a little bit every single time. It doesn't really change fundamentally. It's basically the messaging is the same, but maybe the inflection is different. Maybe I pay attention to one thing or another in the story more than I ever have before. It just depends on the audience. And that's what you have to do as a storyteller. Modify who you have in front of you and tell your story that way. So that's it. In this particular episode, it was probably a little bit different, a little bit more emotional than I probably normally am. But speaking with that emotion, hopefully created a greater connection, and you've shared this with your particular friends or your professionals out there. If you are watching on YouTube, consider doing all the YouTube things, like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, da-da-da-da. If you are listening on your favorite podcasting application, consider doing the podcasting things, thumbs up, stars, whatever they do. Go out there, try to figure out how to tell your story. Come up with an example that is probably really silly. Walking the dog, doing the dishes, tying your shoe, something that everybody knows. And then try to weave in your data capabilities and your data examples. And data governance and data management professionals, please consider doing this as a core capability and service for your particular data office. This has been episode Data with Peachey, I think number 17, and we will catch you in the next one.